Have you ever stopped to think about games that, despite being true masterpieces, ended up getting lost in the sea of releases and didn't achieve the commercial success they deserved? In a world where every launch is an event, it's easy to overlook those gems that failed in sales but shone in quality and innovation. Today, we'll explore some of the best games that, although they didn't capture the market as expected, offer unforgettable experiences, proving that a game's value goes beyond numbers and into its ability to delight its players. This is Jack speaking. If you're new here, welcome to the Play Hunters channel. I bring daily content so you don't miss a beat in the gaming universe. If you could subscribe to help me grow, I'd really appreciate it. From gamer to gamer. Starting off our list is Spec Ops, which introduced a bold and challenging narrative to the gaming world, addressing ethical and psychological issues in a way rarely seen in shooters. The game stood out for its deep storyline that defied traditional wargame expectations. Rather than being just another shooter, it forced players to confront the consequences of their actions, creating a unique and memorable experience. Despite this innovative approach, the game ended up being a commercial failure, selling far fewer copies than expected. With solid gameplay and intense shooting sequences, it delivered not only a technically competent experience, but also an immersive narrative that kept players engaged from start to finish. The settings, inspired by a sandstorm-ravaged Dubai, created an atmosphere that blended beauty and despair, something rarely seen in shooters. However, fierce competition in the genre and a lack of an aggressive marketing campaign may have contributed to its mediocre sales performance. Even though it pleased those who played it, the game's commercial performance was disappointing. The title failed to justify the investment made in its production. Next up is Deus Ex, which continued the saga of the renowned action RPG franchise. The plot unfolded in a world full of social and political tensions, allowing players to explore a complex storyline about the impact of cybernetic enhancements on society. The gameplay mechanics combined intense action with stealth and exploration elements, offering varied and engaging gameplay. Despite its innovations and relatively positive critical reception, the title faced commercial difficulties. The game, aiming to expand and refine the concepts introduced in its predecessor, brought significant improvements in gameplay and world building. However, the combination of a dense narrative and a release during a period saturated with major launches may have contributed to its underwhelming performance. With around 1 million copies sold, the result was somewhat disappointing, especially considering the hype surrounding the title and the significant investment made in its production. In addition to the challenges in sales, the game also faced criticism regarding its monetization model and the feeling that it was partially incomplete due to additional content being released later. Despite these hurdles, the game has many positive aspects and pleased many players. Its beautiful design, various approaches to solving missions, and the protagonist's skill customization allowed for a highly adaptable experience. The detailed futuristic setting created an immersive world, while the depth of the narrative and challenging moral choices enriched the overall experience. Interactions and dialogues were also praised for their complexity, providing a deeper connection with the story and its characters. It's a game that didn't make back its costs, but it's definitely worth your attention. In third place is a game I personally adore, and when I discovered it was a financial failure, I was quite surprised. Splinter Cell, Blacklist brought back stealth action with a new layer of sophistication and intensity. The game stood out for its tactical gameplay and the return of one of the most iconic heroes in espionage games. Players were challenged to complete complex missions requiring both stealth strategies and quick action, with a cover system allowing for a variety of approaches to each situation. Despite these innovative elements, the title struggled to achieve the expected success. The game balanced stealth and more direct action, allowing players to customize their experience according to their preferences. The missions were well structured, offering a mix of urban and exotic environments that enriched the experience. The Blacklist system, which tracked players' actions and preferences, was an innovative feature that influenced the development of future missions and additional content. However, a lack of robust marketing and competition from other releases negatively impacted its sales. Commercial performance fell short of expectations for a franchise title. The critical reception was mixed, with some praising the refined gameplay and others noting that the game didn't innovate enough to stand out in a saturated market. Despite these challenges, Blacklist is a solid and engaging espionage experience, retaining the essence of the series that fans knew and loved. Next up is Sunset Overdrive, a breath of fresh air in the open-world genre, offering a vibrant and energetic experience. The game was notable for its unique visual style, inspired by comics with a bold color palette, contrasting sharply with the darker aesthetics of many other titles at the time. The gameplay combined fluid, acrobatic movement with a diverse arsenal of quirky weapons, creating a dynamic and fun experience. However, despite its visual appeal and gameplay innovation, the title didn't achieve the expected commercial success. The open world was a playground full of activities, from main missions to challenges and collectibles, all designed to keep players engaged. The movement mechanics, which allowed for smooth gliding and jumping through the environment, provided a sense of speed and freedom. The irreverent humor and well-written dialogue also helped create a relaxed and enjoyable atmosphere. However, the game's launch was overshadowed by a less aggressive marketing campaign and a lack of a broader audience for its quirky style. With about 1 million copies sold, the commercial performance was modest compared to the developers' expectations. The lack of effective marketing and competition from other major releases may have influenced its sales. While Sunset Overdrive was a critical success and a fun experience, it failed to find a large audience to justify its investment. Still, the title is remembered as a breath of fresh air in the open-world genre, with gameplay that many would love to see more often. In fifth place is a game many still hope to see a sequel for. Son of Rome stood out for its stunning visuals and detailed recreation of ancient Rome, offering a cinematic and visually impressive experience. Released as one of the first major titles for the Xbox One, the game promised an epic narrative and engaging gameplay centered around the life of a Roman soldier. With brutal combat and a visually striking execution system, the game was praised for its visual style and cinematic presentation. However, despite these qualities, the title faced criticism regarding its gameplay depth and commercial performance. Combat was a major draw, with a fighting system that allowed players to perform attack sequences and finishers with impressive graphics and elaborate visual effects. The setting, with its detailed recreations of battles and historical locations, contributed to an immersive feel of being in ancient Rome. Despite these notable features, the game was criticized for relatively repetitive gameplay and a narrative that didn't meet the expectations set. With around 1.5 million copies sold, the title's commercial performance fell short of expectations, especially considering Microsoft's significant investment and the hype surrounding the launch. The lack of gameplay depth and the perception that the game offered more style than substance influenced the critical reception and sales. The game remains remembered for its impressive visuals, but failed to establish a solid foundation for future titles in the series. Continuing, we have Titanfall 2, which offered an exciting mix of mech and soldier combat, enhancing the formula introduced by its predecessor. The game stood out for its innovative campaign, delivering an engaging narrative and fluid gameplay that pushed the boundaries of the first-person shooter genre. With a dynamic combat system and customizable mechs, the game provided thrilling gameplay in both single-player and multiplayer modes. However, despite critical enthusiasm and fan adoration, the title faced significant commercial challenges. The single-player campaign was one of the game's highlights, offering a captivating story and a variety of gameplay mechanics that kept players engaged. The ability to pilot mechs and the integration of ground and mech combat created a unique and exhilarating experience. In multiplayer, the combination of fast-paced shooting and mech customization offered great replayability and intense competition. Despite these qualities, the game's release window, squeezed between other major titles, hurt its commercial performance. Selling approximately 2 million copies, while solid, fell short of Electronic Arts' expectations. Fierce competition and a launch close to other big releases contributed to the underwhelming performance. Despite these challenges, Titanfall 2 is often remembered as one of the best first-person shooters of its generation, noted for its innovation and the quality of its campaign and gameplay. In seventh place is Immortals of Aveum, which aimed to bring a certain innovation to the action and magic genre with its unique and visually rich approach. The game immerses players in a vibrant fantasy world, full of epic battles and an innovative magic system. featuring a magic-based combat system and a narrative exploring the struggle for power and magic in a war-torn world. It promised an immersive and dynamic experience. However, despite its qualities and innovation, the title struggled to find its audience and achieve the desired commercial success. Gameplay is characterized by a highly fluid magic combat system, allowing players to use a variety of spells and abilities to combat enemies and explore the vast game world. The customization of magical abilities and interaction with the environment contribute to an engaging and unique combat experience. Despite these strengths, the title faced difficulties due to a lack of effective marketing and competition with other standout releases. The game's commercial performance was well below expectations. Lack of market visibility and release during a competitive period impacted its sales, even though the quality of gameplay impressed those who played it. Moving on to a more recent release, Guardians of the Galaxy emerged as a beacon of hope following the fiasco of Marvel's Avengers. Released by Square Enix, the game promised a revival of the superhero franchise, offering a single-player experience focused on rich storytelling and well-developed characters. With an original story and charismatic characters, the game aimed to restore fan confidence after the negative impact of its predecessor. It stood out for its engaging narrative and well-written dialogue, capturing the essence of the comic book characters. The gameplay featured a mix of dynamic combat and narrative choices, allowing players to switch between different team members, each with unique abilities. The rich storyline and the Guardians' characteristic humor were well received, providing a memorable and enjoyable experience. However, the game struggled to completely shake off the negative impact of the previous Square Enix release. Constant comparisons to the failure of Marvel's Avengers hurt public perception and negatively influenced sales. With about 1 million copies sold, the commercial performance fell short of expectations. The shadow cast by the previous title's failure directly affected Guardians of the Galaxy's success, despite its evident qualities. Still, the game pleased those who gave it a chance. In ninth place on today's list is Enslaved, Odyssey to the West, which offered a vibrant and creative reimagining of a classic epic journey, combining a rich narrative with engaging gameplay. Developed by Ninja Theory and published by Namco Bandai, the game transported players to a post-apocalyptic future, following a journey based on the Chinese legend of Journey to the West. With stunning visual design and a deeply engaging story, the title quickly won the affection of critics and fans alike. The gameplay was characterized by a mix of intense combat and exploration, with a fluid platforming mechanic that allowed players to navigate a world full of dangers and challenges. The graphics and environmental design were widely praised, providing a visually rich experience that helped the game stand out in a competitive market. Despite these qualities, the title struggled to reach a broader audience and faced significant commercial difficulties. With sales falling well below expectations, the game failed to achieve the anticipated commercial success. The lack of a strong marketing campaign and competition from other releases impacted its sales. The title exemplifies how a game with high-quality elements can face commercial challenges, even when delivering a great experience. In 10th place is Alien Isolation, which delivered an immersive and intense horror experience, capturing the oppressive atmosphere of deep space. Developed by Creative Assembly and published by Sega, the game stood out for its focus on suspense and survival, moving away from direct action. The experience revolves around stealth, where players need to hide and use the environment to avoid an unrelenting predator. The enemy's artificial intelligence is a major draw, offering a constant hunt that keeps players in constant tension. Gameplay is marked by the need to use limited resources and improvised tools, creating a palpable tension and requiring careful strategy. Despite positive critical reception and innovation in capturing psychological horror, the game faced commercial challenges. Sales fell short of Sega's expectations. The commercial performance can be attributed to the niche appeal of the horror genre and competition with other releases. The game is remembered for its ability to create a genuine and engaging horror experience, standing out for its fidelity to the original universe and constant tension. Recently, there have been rumors about the production of a sequel, but nothing new has been revealed about this potential game yet. In 11th place is Alpha Protocol, which offered an innovative take on the action RPG genre, blending espionage elements with a complex narrative. Developed by Obsidian Entertainment and published by Sega, The game stood out for its intriguing plot and impactful choices, allowing players to shape the story with their decisions. Set in a world of espionage and conspiracy, the game promised a deep and personalized experience. Gameplay combined combat, stealth, and dialogue, with a choice system that directly affected the unfolding of the plot. Mechanics offered a variety of approaches to tackle challenges, whether through direct combat skills or stealth strategies. However, despite its ambitions and innovations, the game faced a series of commercial challenges. With sales estimated at around 700,000 copies, the commercial performance did not meet Sega's expectations. A lack of a solid fan base for the genre and competition with other releases were factors contributing to this outcome. Despite mixed reviews and commercial difficulties, the title continues to be valued for its unique approach and engaging narrative, offering a differentiated espionage experience in the gaming landscape. Moving on to Prince of Persia, which marked a return to the franchise's 2D roots, blending modern graphics with dynamic and engaging gameplay. Developed by Ubisoft, the game introduced a Metroidvania approach to the classic, with an interconnected map full of puzzles and challenges. The concept was a dive into 2D gameplay, different from the expectation of a new 3D title, which generated a certain shock among fans and critics. The gameplay provided a rich experience, combining exploration and puzzle solving with an engaging narrative. Despite receiving positive reviews for its innovation and design, the game faced significant commercial challenges. The game sold a surprisingly low number of copies for a franchise with such weight and renown in the market. This sales performance raised doubts about the franchise's future, especially with expectations for new 3D titles. The low commercial performance may have been influenced by the change in style and market competition. Nevertheless, the title is remembered for its bold attempt to revitalize the franchise and offer a new experience within the genre. Continuing, we have a game that, while not a public failure, was a significant disappointment for the executives behind its release. In 12th place is Dead Space, which brought back one of the most intense and acclaimed experiences in the survival horror genre, with a visual and technical update that enhanced the original game. Developed by Motive Studios and published by Electronic Arts, the 2011 classic Remake aimed to modernize the experience with updated graphics and refined mechanics while preserving the essence of the original game. The goal was to revitalize one of the most memorable space horror games, offering a new chance for fans and a new audience. The gameplay maintained its focus on survival and psychological horror, with a tense atmosphere and moments of dread that kept players on the edge of their seats. Interaction with the environments and challenges faced were improved, providing a more immersive experience. Despite positive critical reception, the commercial performance did not meet EA's expectations. The remake sold around 2 million copies, a solid number but short of the 5 million target EA had hoped to achieve. The ongoing success of other horror franchises and market competition may have influenced these sales. Even with critical success and technical improvements, the commercial performance of the remake raised concerns about potential future projects within the franchise. Next is Hi-Fi Rush, which introduced an innovative approach to the hack-and-slash genre with a rhythmic and visually striking design. Developed by Tango Gameworks and published by Microsoft, the game charmed players with its cel-shading style and gameplay that creatively integrates rhythm and combat. Released without a major marketing campaign, the game gained attention primarily through word of mouth and positive player reception. The experience was unique, blending dynamic combat with an engaging soundtrack that influenced the rhythm of battles. The game's quality and warm critical reception helped cement its success, despite the initial lack of visibility. However, even with good sales and awards, such as Best Music at the Game Awards, the studio behind the game was closed after Microsoft acquired Activision Blizzard. The studio closure left many fans disappointed, as Hi-Fi Rush seemed to have significant potential for sequels and expansions. The combination of visual style, rhythmic gameplay, and positive reception showed the game had a solid foundation, but corporate decisions negatively impacted the future of the franchise. Moving on, Alan Wake 2 is a recent title that has been highly acclaimed. It returned with refined survival horror, promising an immersive and tense experience. The game featured impressive graphics, considered among the best of the new generation. The aim was to deepen the engaging narrative and disturbing atmosphere that characterized the first title, now with an even more complex and atmospheric story. Despite critical enthusiasm and technical improvements, the game faced significant challenges in terms of sales. Although it sold around 1.5 million copies, the number fell short of expectations to cover the high production costs. The niche genre of survival horror limited its commercial appeal, despite the quality and innovation. The low commercial performance does not reflect the positive critical reception and unique experience offered. The expectation is that the franchise may recover and expand in the future, especially if the game can build a loyal fanbase. The first bonus game of today wasn't a commercial failure, but it had a complicated launch. Cyberpunk arrived on the market with enormous expectations, promising a revolutionary experience in the world of RPGs. Developed by CD Projekt Red, the game was set in a futuristic open world, offering deep immersion and a rich narrative. However, the launch was marked by a series of technical issues and bugs, especially on last-generation consoles. These problems affected the experience for many players and led to mixed critical reception and a series of refunds. Despite the initial turmoil, the developer worked tirelessly to fix the errors and improve the quality of the game. With a series of updates and improvements over time, Cyberpunk 2077 managed to reverse its image and regain player trust. Today, the game offers a much more polished and satisfying experience with impressive graphics, an engaging story, and a vibrant open world. The long-term success of the title demonstrates how a problematic launch can be redeemed with continuous effort and dedication. The second bonus of today is Days Gone, which hit the market in 2019 with an engaging proposition. A post-apocalyptic open world filled with zombies and an emotionally charged story. Developed by Bin Studio, the game offered an immersive experience, combining elements of survival and action in a vast open-world setting. However, the launch wasn't without its issues. Criticisms were made regarding technical performance and game pacing, leading to mixed reception. Despite the initial challenges and not meeting commercial expectations, the developer faced additional difficulties when Bin Studio was closed shortly after. The game's fan community kept hope alive for a sequel. The demand for a continuation has been evident, with many players expressing their desire to explore more of the world and narrative offered by the original title. Over time, the game found a solid fanbase that appreciated its story and gameplay mechanics, contributing to its gradual recovery. Days Gone is now viewed more favorably, and the fight for a sequel continues to highlight the passion and potential of the title despite the challenges faced. The third bonus of today is No Man's Sky, which arrived on the market in 2016 with huge hype and promises of a vast and expansive universe created by Hello Games. The game promised an infinitely explorable cosmos, full of unique planets and a vast array of resources to discover. However, the launch was met with frustration as many of the promised features were missing or poorly executed, resulting in negative reviews and a lukewarm reception. Despite the initial frustrations, the developers didn't give up. Instead, they dedicated themselves to a series of updates and expansions that significantly transformed the game. With the addition of new features such as enhanced missions, more robust building systems, and gameplay improvements, No Man's Sky managed to reverse its image. Continuous updates and dedicated support helped restore player trust and rekindle interest in the game. Today, the game is seen as a remarkable example of recovery in the video game industry. It now offers a rich and engaging experience with an expansive and constantly updated universe, demonstrating that even problematic launches can be turned into lasting successes with the right commitment and effort. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Which games that failed commercially but you think are worth playing have a special place in your heart? And do you know of any games that, even if they didn't sell well, still offer an incredible experience and were left out of today's list? Leave your answers and experiences in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to the Play Hunters channel and activate notifications to stay updated on all the latest news about the best games and releases. I'm always here to bring you analyses, tips, and discussions to help you make the most of your gaming time. A big hug and see you tomorrow.